If you are in the build phase for an Adobe Commerce project and things are going sideways, I have 8 suggestions that I think will make your life a lot easier. We'll get this project back on the right track. Stop the ship from sinking or listing to one side, put it on the right track and going down, I'd say the right road, but ships don't they don't float on roads. So whatever the right path for ships. This will help you become a successful product owner for your Adobe Commerce project. Unfortunately, Adobe Commerce has earned somewhat of a bad rap because people say, "Oh, it's too complex, it's too difficult to work with. It's buggy." BS. To be frank, you can make Shopify slow, buggy. You can make BigCommerce slow and buggy. You can do that to anything. Is the core product the problem, or is it how the core product is being built out that's the problem? And yes, it is the latter of those two. It is how this product is being built out. And unfortunately, as these projects get underway, they're usually 6-7 figure projects. They're not small projects, but unfortunately, what happens is Adobe Commerce is sold as, hey, you can do anything you want with this, with no limitations and no respect to the size of this project, and that's where things start going sideways. We get 6 months into a 12-month build, and the custom code is over the developers' heads. They don't know how to manage this level of customization. They have not implemented the proper practices or the procedures in order to facilitate this level of custom code, and as such stuff starts happening. I want to break down these 8 concepts that will help you put this project back on track and will make it a success once again. But before I do like to call out this very important call out. Trust is the key factor. If you don't trust the agency you're working with, there is literally nothing I can say or suggest that will ever turn anything around for you. Trust is number one. You have to trust that they are doing their best, that they are reaching out to get help or resources involved whenever necessary, that their skill set is competent, that they are decent, hardworking people. If as soon as that trust level breaks down, project is over. It will not be successful. I can guarantee you that from day one. So let's jump into these 8 ideas, these 8 suggestions here. Number 1, get involved. Unfortunately, I have seen a lot of projects where there isn't an actual product owner who has responsibility at this merchant for said project. And the result is, well, I guess it kind of falls on the agency to facilitate and make sure this happens. And maybe the agency should be doing this. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I believe every merchant needs a product owner. Is that the CEO? Okay, fine. Not a great solution. The CEO is busy or the president's busy. They got a lot on their plate. Should be somebody in the company who has experience running projects. If you can't find somebody internally, then find somebody externally who can help manage this project. Remember, nobody's perfect. Nobody is going to have 100% success rate for anything. No man, not even the best agency is going to have that. We got to face this. Stuff's going to go sideways sometimes, but having a project owner, product manager in your company is going to make a big difference. Number 2, take control. It is very important to understand what items are preventing launch. Once you get this list pulled together, you say, okay, these are the critical items left. Well, what does it take to get these knocked out so we can get launched? And we're going to talk more about that list of items here in a subsequent bullet point. But understand the scope of the project. Understand what is happening. Make decisions. The bigger the tree is for decisions, if you have to go through a manager to a manager to manager, that's just not going to work. If you're the CEO listening to this video, you have to have a product owner who is capable of making decisions within the criteria, the guidance that you set for them. If you don't set this criteria, though, they're not going to be able to make this decision. It's eventually going to end up on your desk, which you got plenty to do as it is. Take control of the situation by effectively empowering decision makers. Number 3, establish regular communication. And this seems like a no-brainer or even a no fun part of the conversation. Regular communication is absolutely critical. Whether that's daily meetings, bi-weekly, or twice a week, weekly, whatever it is, it doesn't matter the cadence. And make sure you have consistent communication for what needs to happen. And this all comes back to synchronizing on what topics or what are the key features you're working on. Over and over again, I've seen it where the merchant thinks, oh, this is what's going to be happening. This is what needs to happen. And the agency is like, okay, we're just churning through these items one by one. And there's a great divide between the merchant and what the agency's thinking. Don't let that happen. Nail down the exact priorities, the exact list of topics to be worked through in regular communication. Now, I said I was going to bring this up earlier, and I'm going to bring it up at this point now. Reduce the scope. Hey, you say, Joseph, we have this project. We have to get it done. Right. I understand. But the scope is way more fungible than you probably would ever want to think. The more you can bring that back, you're reducing technical debt, you're getting this project out faster, and chances are there's a lot of features you didn't actually really need. Sales, marketing, finance, product teams all get involved and are like, hey, I'd love this feature, and I'd love this feature, and I'd love this feature. And the agency's like, yep, can do. And they're like, sold. You can do it. And then when it comes to delivery, it's like, we are having trouble delivering all these features. Well, in reality, it wasn't all needed. And perhaps some of the features on your old site weren't even needed either. Be very critical as to say, what can we pull back out of this? Get the basic product working well, release with that, and then version 2 or 1.1, whatever you want to say, can have a more full feature set. Build those features out one at a time. The site will be live, and you are getting real-time feedback as far as exactly what is necessary. I could use the buzzword agile process for this, and that's kind of what this is involved, except it's real-time. It's not before it's been released, although before it's been released, the whole project phase would be like a waterfall somewhat methodology. So reduce the scope wherever possible. Now, another thing is ensure excellent documentation. The more you can document, the more you can state what is necessary as far as requirements in the first place, or bugs, features that are requested through the process, the more it will save you budget, i.e. time, money, and will get this project done faster. Case in point, if you submit a bug that you've only seen it happen once, it was a weird error message, you copied the error message, you put it in the ticket, throw it over to the developers and let them troubleshoot it, fantastic, great. But they're going to have to replicate this bug themselves. And that's one thing that's interesting for you to remember is that if you can't replicate it, yes, it is still a problem, but it is very difficult for the developer to exactly triangulate what happened here. The developer doesn't know what was going on. They can guess, and maybe if there is an error message, they can figure it out based off of just that error message. But it makes things a lot more difficult. So the more information you can get, and as well as a replication, a 2 to 3 time replication of this problem, it should be smooth sailing. Not always, but it should be fairly smooth sailing for whatever you're dealing with. Another thing, look for the root cause. If you are playing a game of whack-a-mole, and I hear this regularly. In fact, I'll be honest with you, as I always am. I'm pretty blunt. We played a few games of whack-a-mole ourselves, but the discipline is for every agency out there. If you're watching this, don't play those for long. It's frustrating to the merchant. That's why you're probably watching this video. It's frustrating. Why am I doing this? It doesn't make any sense. Game of whack-a-mole means there is a root cause, and that root cause has yet to be identified. When the issue arises, your team should be saying, okay, well, here's the symptom. Here's another symptom. What is causing this? So a short-sighted development team will say, okay, well, we're just going to deal with this symptom. We're going to deal with this symptom. And then another one pops up. Oh, we'll deal with this. No, a good team which ultimately means probably higher cost because it's going to take more time to address the root cause, higher cost initially, but lower cost long term. They're going to say, okay, this is a symptom and maybe this is a symptom. How are these related? Remember, nothing in computer science is random. Okay, maybe there's an exception or two to that, but really nothing is random. Understand that. 2 more points. Get a second opinion. If this hasn't worked, what I've talked about so far, get a second opinion. Get a audit of the code, the quality of the code, the user experience of the site. This is going to help you know the unknown. Ultimately, it's a black box, and it's not your area of expertise. You shouldn't have to know the code or anything behind this. Get in there and get an audit done of the site by a team that you trust, and get the site and look through that report. You might not understand every single thing that they're saying in there, but at the end of the day, this is going to help you understand what is truly the state of this website and ultimately the competence of the development team that you are working with. It could be that a worst case scenario is what is necessary, and that is moving on to a different agency. Understand, there comes a fairly high cost of doing this because your existing provider has already built up, hopefully, a significant amount of knowledge. Unfortunately, that's not always happens. There's turnover, there's switching of teams, there's just other different company practices that can cause problems here. But it might be time to switch agencies if you have not been able to get this relationship to work thus far. When you do, make sure that you look for a team that you can trust. Certification count is not always the best indicator, but it can be a really good indicator. What percentage of this new incoming team is certified on this platform? The higher the number, the better. Well, I hate to say this and even have this conversation. This is absolutely important. This is critical to understanding how to turn this project back into a successful direction. And I hope that you found this valuable.